Like, I think a lot of the times the reason why I find myself feeling inadequate or insecure is because I'm trying to present myself to people when God sends me in room to present himself to others. Like, I'm there as a conduit, I'm there as a servant, and I'm there not to point people to myself, but I'm there to point others to who he is. And if the agenda is for God to be praised, then I'm not there trying to be impressive. What is up, everyone? We are back with another episode of Shaping the Culture. Let's just get to it. The whole secular sacred divide. There is no distinction in the scriptures. Some of us have trust issues with God, and some of us, it's like, does God really got us? You can't engage the culture with the gospel that first has not engaged you. Like, you know how people are like, oh, that's just who I am. Nah.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic. Drop the mic.
Shaping the Code. What is up, everyone? We are back with another episode of Shaping the Culture podcast. Hope all is well with you all. Here it is. This is the 2024 season finale, the last episode of the year, which is crazy. 2024 has been a wild year. Grateful for all that God has done, all the doors that he's opened, all the things that I've been able to do. Like, we did a podcast tour earlier this year. We got to interview some amazing guests. We had some incredible live shows. We did some conferences. Hey, real quick, actually, we have put this together, Parker and I, but if you are a leader, pastor, and you're trying to host an event and want a podcast to come out or want someone to facilitate conversation during a breakout, we're opening the floor for booking now. So you can find the link for that in my bio on IG. But yeah, we got to do a few conferences this year, which was really fun. It's been a good year, man. I'm so grateful for 2024. God has been kind. He has blown my mind away. He's gone above and beyond my expectations of what he would do, and very humbled by all that was able to transpire this year. Real quick, just so you guys are in the know about what's to come. January 2025, we won't be posting any episodes. I'm taking that month, not to necessarily rest, but to record a whole bunch of episodes. So I'll be traveling a bit, and we're going to be knocking out some episodes. And I'm trying to rebrand a little bit, come back different, come back better. New year, new me, right? New me, new year, new page. And we're just trying to be more excellent to serve y'all better. We're trying to take this to the next level. So whether that's better equipment, better lighting, better studio space, better conversation, better questions, we're going to continue to have amazing guests. It's be on the lookout. 2025 is going to be a great year, Lord willing. My New Year's resolution for 2024 was to get out of God's way. I plan on doing the exact same thing in 2025. I've got my plans, but it's the Lord's steps that are ordered, right? And so we plan and we try to execute, and then God meets us in that. And so I am open to whatever the Lord wants to do. Truly, I am down for whatever he has for me. And so, but be on the lookout. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell notification button, stay in contact with us. Feel free to reach out via social media. I try to respond back to DMs. I just love connecting with y'all. So thank you. And thank you for the comments have been a blessing this year. Just seeing all the different ways that y'all have been blessed by this content is fuel. It's for real fuel. Parker and I put together a media kit recently to pitch to brands, and we incorporated some of those comments in that media kit, and it was encouraging to see. What we're going to do for this last episode is we're going to read some of the questions that came in via IG and just try to tackle them. And I want to answer as honestly as possible. And so there's a few questions that came in. I might want to start light. I'll start with this one. Any regrets from your early 20s? I've got so many regrets from my early 20s. You know how people are like, oh, I don't have any regrets. No, I've got regrets. I've got regrets. There are definitely things I would do different and I would do better. Family, ignorance is not bliss. Amen. Can I get an amen from the back? Somebody type right now in the comment section, amen. Listen, ignorance will rob you of life. It's not going to give you a fruitful life. And so in my early 20s, there are really three things I wish I could do better, that I wish I would have done better. One, in my early 20s, I wish I had more knowledge or even a desire for more knowledge as it pertains to finances. I wish, like, in my early 20s, I set myself up financially in ways that would have put me in better positions today. Like, we're good, we're okay. But I always think, what would have happened if I started earlier, right? What would have happened if I started in high school? I can't help but think about some friends who have shared, and I'm gonna do this for my kids, but for some friends have shared with me that, like, when they were in high school, their parents took out a credit card for them, gave them a credit card, and they would monitor it. The parents would monitor it, of course, what's the word? Monitor it. But by the time they got out of high school, they had this impeccable credit score because they had been building it for 4 years. They never had to really pay it back. Their parents did, but it set them up. And that's brilliant. Instead of using a debit card, because, like, in high school, your parents are already giving you money to go out. Your parents are already giving you money for gas. Your parents are, well, in my house, they did. Your parents are giving you money unless you're working. And so I'm like, dang, like, imagine, like, if I did everything on a credit card, and my parents just, instead of handing me cash, they just paid. Anyways, one regret is that I wish, like, I set myself up better financially. That's a regret that I have. Another regret I said I had three. The second one is I wish I was more intentional with my physical health. My goodness. So if I got into better habits earlier, right? So now, you know, I could always do better at eating. But I travel so much, which is a whole nother conversation, but that's not an excuse. 2025, we're going to do better. But right now, like, I work out 4 or 5 times a week, I should say. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm in the gym. Tuesday, Thursday, I'm doing cardio. So Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, typically, if the weather permits, I'm doing a 6-mile walk. And so my whole thing is, man, I feel like I would be at a different place on the bench press, different place in, like, how far or how long it would take me to do 6 miles if I had started earlier. I just didn't care about physical health at that point. I didn't even know how my physical health related to my spiritual life, you know. And I've just kind of learned, like, yo, your physical health is important to God. And so I wish I got on it earlier. That, you know, back then I only cared about reading the Bible, studying theology, reading books, going to church. Like, I was like, yo, if I'm doing that, I'm killing it as a Christian. But God also cares about how we eat and how we take care of the body, so on and so forth. And so that would be my second regret for my early 20s. Like, yo, really paying attention to, you know, my eating habits, really paying attention to how frequently I'm in the gym and I'm monitoring my life in that way. So that's the second regret. The third regret that I have, confidence. I wish I started working on my confidence as early as possible, even before my early 20s, because I have learned in life, nobody knows what they're doing. Like, everybody's on a journey. Everybody is faking it till they make it. Everybody is just freestyling. For the 88% of the time, people walk into a thing not really knowing what the thing is about. But if you were to look at the way they move, you look at the way they talk, you look at the way they position themselves, you would, like, their confidence just makes it seem like they've got this thing down. And so for me, I've always been like, well, if I don't have this thing down, then I'm not going to act like I have this thing down. And I'm not saying confidence is a lie, but when I say confidence, like, just believing in myself enough to know that even if I don't get it now, that I will get it. Or the confidence to believe that, you know, I'm exactly where I need to be. And that there's nothing wrong with me for not knowing certain things at a certain age, or there's nothing wrong with me for not having certain experiences, that I'm in that place and I'm in that room for a specific reason. And with time, I will get better. And with time, I will excel. And with time, I will perfect whatever it is that I am trying to do. And so not letting my insecurities rob me of moments, not letting my insecurities rob me of seasons, not letting my insecurities rob me of opportunities. Like, I have let my insecurities rob me of so many friendships, romantic relationships, job opportunities, spaces to occupy, jobs to apply for. Like, I really let my lack of confidence take from me. And even now, like, as I'm stepping into 2025, I'm like, yo, even the way I move with this podcast, like, I'm a podcaster now. Like, I shouldn't be insecure about that, or I shouldn't move as if I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I've got almost 8 years under my belt. You know, we're learning, we're growing always. We're going to stay humble. We're going to remain students, right? But like, I shouldn't lack confidence. That should be a thing that, like, I should walk into. And confidence is simply saying yes to what God put his name on, saying yes to what God put his blessing on. And so, yeah, man, that would be my three things, my three regrets from my early 20s: getting my money right, getting my body right, and getting my confidence right. If I got those three, you know, because in the church, they make you feel like if you just have John 3:16 memorized, you're just where you need to be. Or, you know, if you're leading a Bible study, that's what makes you a leader. And I've learned there's more to what makes you a leader. The hardest person to lead is yourself. If you don't know how to lead yourself, you will never learn how to lead others. And so if you don't know how to lead yourself when it comes to how you eat, how you work out, how you think about yourself, how you spend your time, how you spend your money, if you don't lead yourself in every facet of your life, then it'd be really even hard to win influence. It'd be really hard for people to even want to model your life or want to live like you live, because you have nothing to offer but Bible. And Bible's good. That's good to offer. But you also, Paul told Timothy, watch your doctrine and your life. They both matter. Like, your doctrine is important. It's good to know your word, but it's also good to have a good grip on your life. What kind of character are you building? God cares about the stuff that a lot of churches don't talk about, like your personal finances, your personal health, physical health, your emotional intelligence, your relational intelligence, all of that good stuff. So that would be my regret from my early 20s. This kind of bleeds into the next question. Somebody asked, how do you reconcile God calling you to something but feeling inadequate in the role? Oh my gosh. How do you reconcile? Do it scared. I struggle with imposter syndrome. So part of it is me being the firstborn. Part of it is me being an immigrant, or a son of immigrant parents. Part of it is some things I lacked growing up, like affirmation and things like that. And so for me, I'm constantly wondering if I'm doing something right. I'm constantly wondering what I'm doing and if I'm doing it correctly. I'm constantly wondering if I'm excelling. I'm constantly wondering if I've got it right. It's not just till recently, and Parker and I were actually talking about this before we started recording. Like, my first tour, for anybody who came to that tour in 2023, I facilitated conversation. I asked questions and then I went mute. Like, I didn't really contribute to conversation. I didn't really answer any of the questions during the Q&A. And I had people in every city consistently tell me, we wish we heard more from you. We wish we heard more from you. I wanted to hear your answer when it came to that question. I wanted to hear your take on that. And for me, I'm like, really? Like, I thought you wanted to hear what they had to say. And so, again, when I came around this time to do the tour, I was a little bit more confident. I felt a little bit more equipped. I felt a little bit more adequate, right? Like, there was a level of confidence that I carried because, like, I've been doing this. I know my stuff. I'm a student of the game. I study the Bible. And I'm learning that people do want to hear what I have to say. And so, I think, like, the biggest L isn't necessarily you making the mistake, but the biggest L is when you don't learn from your mistake. And so for me, how do I reconcile the different, like, I do it scared and then I learn what made me feel inadequate. Did I feel inadequate because I wasn't prepared? Okay, next time, what am I going to do? I'm going to prepare better. So study harder, study longer, study better. And not that it'll take away all the nerves, but it'll help. I'll come back later and I'll be like, okay, like I'm less nervous now. I feel less inadequate because I'm coming a little bit more prepared. Or if you're feeling inadequate because, you know, something that's outside of your control, you don't have a point of reference, you don't have representation, you've never seen your gender or your skin color or your ethnicity on a specific level. Well, in moments like that, you got to ask God to help you step into all that God has for you. I can't help but think about this idea when God called Moses and Moses is asking the question like, who am I? God never tells Moses who he is. God only tells Moses who God is. So God encourages Moses, God gives Moses confidence, not by telling Moses he's the man, but by telling Moses that God is the man. What gives Moses confidence to go and confront Pharaoh, go and confront the Egyptians, isn't necessarily his experience, the representation that he's had in his life or the lack thereof. Because you got to think about it, like what Hebrew has ever done what Moses has done? There's no point of reference for Moses. That's why he's asking, like, who am I? Because there's nobody who's ever done what he's asked to do. And so what God tells Moses is, yo, get your eyes off of you. Get your eyes on me. Like, I'm going to be the reason why they're going to be delivered. I'm going to be the reason why miracles unfold. I'm going to be the reason why plagues break out. I'm going to be the reason why Pharaoh's heart would be hardened. I'm going to be the reason why my people will be delivered. Like, God is telling Moses, you're asking the wrong. It's not about you. It's about him. And I think sometimes, you know, my feelings of inadequacy isn't rooted or anchored in truths about myself. It's actually anchored in ignorance about who my God is. I remember Shobaraka once said, you know, I carry the confidence of 10 men, not because I've got confidence in me, but because I have confidence in him. That's a bar. Like, yo, I'm confident, not because of what I bring to the table, but I'm confident because I know who sends me. I know who's called me. And so for me, like, something that's helped tremendously is, hey, correct. Like, if I'm not prepared, correct that, right? But when it's something outside of my control and I just feel like I'm the wrong guy, I remember that God adds the super to my natural and he does the magic. And I think that's like, the Bible is filled of God calling inadequate people. The Bible is filled with God calling incompetent leaders. The Bible is filled with God calling weak leaders. The Bible is filled with God calling people who have no business leading or being called, but yet and still they do remarkable things, not because they were great, but because the one who called them was great. And so for me, like, I love, my friend Brennan Palmer says this all the time, but like, yo, go into rooms like God sent you there. Like, walk into rooms like you're there on assignment. Like, I think a lot of the times the reason why I find myself feeling inadequate or insecure is because I'm trying to present myself to people when God sends me in room to present himself to others. Like, I'm there as a conduit, I'm there as a servant, and I'm there not to point people to myself, but I'm there to point others to who he is. And if the agenda is for God to be praised, then I'm not there trying to be impressive. If the agenda is for God to be glorified, then I have no business trying to be impressive. And so I think sometimes what makes me feel inadequate is because I want the glory. I want the shine. I want to be the one that people clap for. I want to be the one that people respect. But God doesn't send me so that people would marvel at who I am. God sends me so that they would be marveled at who he is. And so I think what's really helped me in this journey as well is getting out the way. Like, let them forget my name. Let them not forget my Jesus. Let them forget who I am. Let them not forget my God who saved me. And so I'm there, and the win isn't for them to be in awe of who I am. The win is for them to be in awe of who God is. And so I think what helps me in my confidence is knowing that I am not the main attraction. I am not the point of it all. I am a servant. I am another beggar pointing y'all to where the bread is at. And so we could do a whole episode on that alone, but that's what I would say to that question. in ministry, what is the healthy relationship of being poured into and pouring out? Which is good. And somebody actually asked about burnout too. Somebody asked about serving and burnouts, how to learn to take breaks and regain energy to serve better. So I'm just going to kind of marry those two questions for my answer. I think the first thing that we got to do is be mindful of our personalities, our capacities, our gifting, and our calling. When we're mindful of those things, we know what our limitations are. So I'm just going to give a very practical example. I am introverted. I know that about myself. I know that people don't give me energy. People take my energy. And so in order for me to show up fully on a Sunday night, for me to give my all at Perazim, I know that Sunday up before church, I got to be by myself. And that's usually when I'm doing my 6 mile walk. I got to process. I've got to pray. I got to if I need to watch a sermon, if I got to read a book, if I got to take a nap, if I got to go to another church and get poured into, I just need me time so that when Sunday night rolls around, I can preach with my whole heart and I can meet new people and I can give myself and I can expand or extend myself, I should say, so that by Sunday night when service is over and everybody's left, I don't feel like I've cheated people, I've cheated my call, and I've cheated my responsibility. So me just being mindful of my personality helps me manage what I'm able to give and what I'm not able to give. So if I know that I'm preaching on a Sunday, but I'm over here hanging out with friends before church, I'm over here, taking appointments and doing stuff up until Sunday, I know I'm going to feel burnt out by the end of service because I haven't done a good job of taking care of me in the way I need to take care of me to show up in the way that God needs me to show up. So that'd be one, knowing your personality. Another thing is knowing what fuels you. So rhythms of rest, right? So 2020, I had a big, I had a few panic attacks. I actually thought they were heart attacks, but they were panic attacks. And I was burnt out. And my team was like, hey, you just need to go on a month-long sabbatical. Just get away for a little bit, come back, be refreshed, come back with fresh vision. I was like, all right. So I went, and it was amazing. Oh my goodness. Week 2, I started feeling myself again. I was getting excited about life again. Week 3, I started getting excited about ministry again. I'm like, whoa, I can't wait to come back. And I've got ideas for sermon series now. And I sense myself coming back. And the last week I was on sabbatical, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, actually Pastor Paul, and him and his wife, Pastor Christina. They sat me down and they're like, okay, what are your rhythms of rest when you get back? I was like, what do you mean? I'll just take a sabbatical every year. They're like, yeah. But you can't just give it your all, burn out, and then go on break. You need rhythms of rest. And so they broke down to me you need rhythms of rest daily, you need rhythms of rest weekly, and you need rhythms of rest annually. So what is the thing that you do every day? What is the thing that you do every week? And what is the thing that you do every year? So for me, that was helpful. So I came back home and I said, okay, Mondays, I have 2 off days, Saturdays and Monday. Monday are my days where I don't hang out with anybody. I don't hit up anybody. I spend the day by myself, A, because that's my personality, but B, I get to get poured into. I'm watching sermons, I'm reading books, I'm taking naps, I'm going to the gym. Because when I get to work on Tuesday, I'm boom, boom, boom. I've got meetings back to back to back. And so for me, every week I need Monday. When I don't have Mondays, I feel myself getting a little bit more tired. I feel myself getting a little bit more weary. I feel myself burning out if I miss a few Mondays in a row. And so for me, weekly, I need that Monday. And for me, I need to spend time alone. That might not be for you. For you, your weekly thing is hanging out with people. That's for what I do on Saturdays are typically the days or Friday nights where I'm trying to see friends. We're going to a game. We're going to the movies. We're going to somebody's house. We're going out to eat. I need to see my friends too. So but Mondays are my me days. And so you got to figure out what it is that you need to do weekly. And then daily for me, this is a practice I'm trying to get better at. I'm not always the best at, but you need to have, like for me, after 7 p.m., typically, I'm not taking any more meetings. After 7 p.m., I'm going home and I am letting my hair down. I am processing the day. Maybe I'm on Netflix and I'm catching up on a show I'm watching, or I'm watching a movie, or I'm going on a drive, or I'm recording a podcast. Like, I don't know what it is. Podcasting is like, it doesn't feel like work to me, even though it's work. But I just, after 7 p.m., I can't work because I know with the nature of my job, it's really easy to be in meetings all day, every day. That I could be taking meetings, talking to people from 7 a.m. to midnight, easily. So for me, I have to like put an intention on. So after 7 p.m., I'm going out to a dinner with a friend, or I'm going home, something like that. And then annually, just going on vacation. Like I try to take 2 weeks out of the year. I'm trying to change that to I'm trying to take a month off a year where I'm like, and not maybe all at once, but like spread it out throughout the year, where I'm visiting new countries, new cities. I'm doing something that I'm excited about. And so I would say that. And one last thing I want to say about burnout that I think it's important to note. I heard a pastor talk about this, and I think it's very important to note. No one burns out from physical exhaustion. We only burn out when our expectations aren't met. For instance, like you've never heard a plumber say, I'm burnt out from all the plumbing that I'm doing. Why? Because there's no expectation tied to plumbing. Like it's a pretty straightforward job, mindless job. It's a routine job. But I found myself being burnt out in ministry when I've always had my expectations not being met. So like what takes me out, and there's a healthy dance to this, because I'm not saying don't have expectation. I'm not saying don't dream. I'm not saying don't cast vision. But I am saying, like, don't attach your win to your results. Attach your win to your faithfulness. Like, I have been in ministry long enough to know that God is going to do whatever he wants to do. And my job is to be faithful. His job is to produce fruit. And so, again, set vision, dream big. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a dreamer. Dream big. But do not attach your happiness to your expectations being met. Do not attach your joy to your expectations being met. What's going to burn you out is disappointment. What's going to burn you out is frustration. What's going to burn you out is you not getting what you want in the timeline that you want it. Truth of the matter is there's 1,000,001 things going on, and God might think, oh, he's not ready for this right now. So I'm going to use this season to develop him a little bit more. I'm going to make him sharper. And you're over here thinking like, I'm done with ministry. Like nothing is working. It's like the Karate Kid. He's wax on, wax off. He's preparing you for something, but you don't know that you're being prepared. So you get frustrated by the lack of results. And so you think that you are not where you need to be. Little did you know you are exactly where you need to be. And you need to assess your win as faithfulness. And that's the true test of character. Will you continue to show up when the results don't yield the way you want it to, or you don't yield the results that you want to yield? So I would say that about burnout too. Like, just make sure that you have attached your joy, and this is easier said than done, of course, but you've attached your joy to the finished work of Jesus. You've attached your happiness not to happenings, but to what God has done for you. And I think that and have fun with your friend, man. Like, enjoy the process. Like, every level of glory comes with a level of responsibility. Every level of success comes with a level of sacrifice. And so too often in the church, we only talk about all the ways in which we want God to bless us, not thinking about all the costs that are associated with the blessing. And so, like, enjoy the process, breathe, have fun, be encouraged. Every season has an expiration date. If you're having the best time of your life, enjoy it. That's coming to an end soon. If you're having the hardest time of your life, be patient. That season has an expiration date to it. And so nothing is forever, right? And so, and it's so funny, like me and my team will talk about this, like days that we used to grumble about in this season, we look back and we're like fond of, like, dang, those were some good times. Like, yeah, we were frustrated about the live stream. We were frustrated about the lack of numbers, but we had more time for each other. We had more laughs. And so you don't even know all the hidden gems that are in this season because you're so fixated on what the next thing is. And so how do you protect yourself from burnout? Remove your joy from expectations being met. Be faithful and trust God. Take care of yourself weekly or daily, weekly, and annually. It's good questions. Parker, we should have got you on the mic so you could have, you know what I'm saying? They're going to have to wait till 2025. Somebody asked, have you talked about how you got over your church hurt? I would be interested to hear that. I have gotten over my church hurt. So I did a whole episode with my friend, Pastor Seth, on pastors also experiencing church hurt. And, you know, in that episode, I talked about the temptation for us as leaders and pastors when we experience hurt is to run, is to disengage. Like, we're not afforded the opportunity to lash out. We're not afforded the opportunity to say what we really think. We're not afforded the opportunity to just lash out and be angry. And so for me, I mean, some leaders and pastors respond that way. I'm typically not that guy. So for me, the way I have responded to disappointment has been by disassociating, disengaging, pulling back, more walls being put up, less vulnerability. And that's a way to protect myself because I can't just be like, forget y'all, I'm done with y'all. And that's the tough part about church hurt for leaders, because like typically, like if you're not a leader or pastor, when you experience church hurt, for the most part, like you can just get up and leave or go somewhere else or go to a different service time or something like that. But for leaders and pastors, like the people that hurt you, you've got to continue to serve. The people that hurt you, you got to continue to see. The people that you serve, you got to continue to empower. The people that hurt you, that you got to continue to like speak life over. And so it could be really tricky sometimes. And so for me, like what has happened in the past has been, in my hurt, I will remove myself from a situation, or I will show up and do my job. I'll do my work. I'll do what I need to do, but then I'll like move on, or I'll do, you know, I will serve with my gift and not my heart. I would serve because it's an assignment and not necessarily with conviction. And so how have I gotten over that? It's a great question. The way in which I've gotten over that is by having healthy community. Here's the reality of it all. People hurt you and people heal you. People are complicated. The same, like it's just the way God set it up. Like God will use people to help you heal from wounds that people gave you, which is so fascinating when you think about it. And so for me, I had friends and I had people in my community that were not afraid to be honest with me. I had friends and people in my community that were emotionally intelligent enough to know when to say what needed to be said and how to say what needed to be said. So when it was time to be gentle, they knew to be gentle. When it was time to be stern, they were stern. When it was time to rebuke, they rebuked. And when it was time to encourage, they encouraged. I think that's like the beauty of healing, is like it's such a nuanced thing, and there's no time limit to it. Like, oh, please don't put any time limits on friends that need healing. Like, it might take them 6 months. It might take them 6 years. What I've learned oftentimes is the way in which people process hurt is always associated with their personality type, with their upbringing, with the tools that have been given to them, with their family of origin stuff, with the genes that they have. Like, people are complicated. And I mean, I've found this to be true for myself. Like, I often respond in ways I don't desire to respond. It's like your mind is telling you one thing, but your emotion is telling you something else. Like, your mind is telling you one thing, but your body's, and so it's like, yo, like I know I shouldn't think that. Right now, I just need you to just encourage me that one day I won't think this way. Instead of telling me again, you're gonna think like this again, right? Like, and so I had friends and people in community that were gentle enough to be like, hey, you're running, you're a track star. I'm gonna need you to like stay and face some things. Hey, I know so and so hurt you in this way, but don't put that on this not everybody in the church is like that. And luckily, I had a beautiful community at my church. You know, when I planted Perizim Church, I envisioned all the different ways that I would serve it, all the different ways I would sacrifice for it, all the ways I would bless it, all the ways I would like give myself to it. In no way, shape, or form did I ever envision all the different ways that it would serve me, that it would bless me, that it would pour into me. And so for me, like, the church showed up for me, even when they didn't know they were showing up for me. And I think I'll even say this, the culture of a place even healed me, because sometimes it's so easy to like think that all churches are the same or all people are the same or eventually things will happen the same way. And I've learned this to be true, and I've shared this before, but the culture of a place can unsay what the doctrine is in that community. So like, you can preach from the pulpit, God loves sinners, but you can have a culture in the church where sinners don't feel welcome. And so the culture can unsay all the doctrinal truths that you're spewing from the pulpit, all the theological truths that you're displaying in Bible study. And so what has also healed me is being in a culture, being in a space that resembled the goodness and grace of God. And I found healing there. But that's a whole nother episode that we can really dive into. And so, yeah, I mean, you can look at it on our page, like, you know, Pastors Experience Church Hurt with Seth Martin. That's a conversation we dove deeper into. I'm gonna answer one more question. I can't get to all the questions, and then we'll be done for the last episode of the year. I think this correlates with the last question. Can you speak more on how we're lacking good, solid friendships in church? Yeah, I think that we don't have any resources on how to be a good friend. I think you can find books on marriage. You can find books on parenting. You can find books on leadership. But very rarely are you finding books on friendship. And I wonder why that is. You know, we live in a day and age where we're the most connected we've ever been via social media, but the most disconnected we've ever been. Loneliness is on the rise, and more people are feeling unseen and thus unloved. And I think that like part of it is because I heard somebody say on a podcast one time, our parents' generation just did such a great job at it that they didn't feel like they had to pass that information down. They felt like maybe that was innate. That was something that they would understand, not knowing that the culture that we are going to find ourselves in would make it difficult. Like, for instance, like COVID made a bunch of us awkward. Like, being trapped in the house, we lost social cues. We lost social norms. Like, we forgot how to engage with people. I've heard time and time again people saying like, yo, I was active. I was a social butterfly. And then after COVID, I just don't know how to, I've got social anxiety. Like, I don't even know how to show up in public spaces anymore. It's a real thing. Like, that's something that's happened. Or like, our parents never anticipated a world in which most of our conversation would be had online. Like, even for me, like, growing up is a lot different than our reality today. Like, I didn't have a smartphone growing up. My first smartphone was the iPhone 4, and that was my sophomore year of college. So think about that. Most of my life, is that most of my life right now? 33. That was 20. Yeah, most of my life, I'm getting old, y'all. Most of my life, the way I built relationships wasn't online. It was in person, like at church, at functions, at birthday parties, at outings. I remember me and my brothers would just be outside, and our neighbors would like skateboard across our house, and we just, hey, you want to skateboard together? Or like we're playing basketball on my driveway, and kids just pop up to our house, and we just start playing 2-on-2 or 3-on-3, or there is this huge hill behind our house, and we just go snowboarding together. It's just like, it was just a natural thing. But now, like, you don't even look at your neighbors, let alone like play with your neighbors, right? And so I just think that I think part of the reason why we're ill-equipped is because we didn't anticipate the times that we'd be living in. Like, we didn't foresee Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or COVID. And so we just felt like people should know it should be a natural thing of how to communicate, how to be open, how to be transparent, how to be vulnerable, how to make a friend, how to identify a friend, how to build trust in a friendship, so on and so forth. And so I would say it's lacking in the church as well, because we don't value it in the church. In the church, we only talk about marriage, and we only talk about parenting. So I think one of the things we need to do as a church is start talking about it more, writing more books about it, having conferences on it, because I do think it's important and it's necessary and it's essential for the flourishing of our communities. Like, even marriages, like once you get married, one of the ways that marriage is going to survive is if the husband and wife have friends they share together and friends outside the relationship. Like, that's going to play a huge role in how the friendship in the relationship, the marriage relationship works. And so I think that's why partly why we have the problem that we have. I would say, how do you discover a friend? It's through commonalities, right? So you can't be friends with somebody simply because you want friendship. You've got to be friends with somebody because there's something about that other person that draws you to them. They have similar interests, commonalities, similar hobbies, similar goals, similar values, similar vision. Like, there's something about that, they love Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I love Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh, they love podcasts, I love podcasts. Oh, they love the movies, I love the movies. Oh, they're fans of the Timberwolves, I'm a fan of the Timberwolves, right? There's something there that needs to connect you guys, something to build upon. And I'll end lastly with it. It's such a big topic, but I'll end with this. It was Tim Keller who said, a friendship must be discovered. It cannot be forged, right? But once the friendship is discovered, in order for the friendship to remain, it needs to be forged. So there's going to have to take a level of discipline and forgiveness, commitment, like David and Jonathan, a covenant possibly being made, in order for the friendship to go the distance. Your commonalities, your similar interests and values and vision for life will not be enough to sustain the friendship. It's like in a marriage, in a marital context, love is not all you need. R&B lied to you, Hollywood lied to you. Like, love is not enough to have a successful marriage. In the same way, similar interests and commonalities is not enough to keep the friendship. You've got to learn how to forgive. You've got to learn how to be patient. My pastor used to always say, mature friendships leave room for the other person to be human, to make mistakes. Like, you've got to communicate in a friendship what you like, what you dislike, what hurt you, what encouraged you. In order for the friendship to go the distance, you got to learn how to celebrate each other. You got to learn how to show up for each other. You're going to learn how to help each other get your goals, meet your goals, or see your vision or your dreams come to pass. Like, there's so much that goes into making a friendship a friendship. And I feel like part of the reason why our marriages aren't working is because we don't have good friendship. If we don't know how to commit to a friend, we'll never be able to commit to a partner. If we don't know how to forgive a friend, how can we forgive a spouse? If we don't know how to be patient with a friend, how can we be patient with the spouse? And so a lot of even what we're seeing in marriages, it's a lack of friendship. Like a lot of the problems that we see in marriages stem from this reality that we just don't know how to be friends. And so, yeah, man, we got some good content this year that we put out on friendship that you can check out. We've got a few, but just for our time together, I'll end there. Thank y'all for the questions that y'all asked and sent in. Sorry if we didn't get to your question, but I just want to say thank you. This has been a phenomenal year. 2024 wouldn't have been 2024 without you all. And so thank you for tuning in and subscribing and liking and sharing and commenting. Continue to do so. I promise you guys that we've got an amazing year coming up. 2025 is going to be one for the books. Listen, we're just getting started by God's grace. God can shut this whole thing down next week. But if he allows, Lord willing, we're going to have a phenomenal year. Love y'all so much. Thank you for the way y'all have encouraged and blessed and supported us. I will never forget 2024. We love y'all. Till next year, peace and grace.